Welcome to Lesson 8, Apply the Elements. If you've been watching my videos from lesson 1 up to lesson 8, then you should be ready to apply the elements on your track. And this is my ICM method. In other words, this is the method that I have created for you to show you how to create a simple tabletop board game so that you'll be able to create any other tabletop board game that you want to create. I hope that you will go to my homepage and click on subscribe, and then I hope that you will consider telling your family and friends about my Create Your Own Tabletop Board Game YouTube channel. So as you can see on the whiteboard, everyone, I have created a sample track to show you how to apply elements to your track. So if you have an opportunity, go to my YouTube channel and you'll see a video, and it's called How to Play Backtrack. And once you watch that video, How to Play Backtrack will show you how I place my elements on the track and what the elements mean. And if you study that, it'll give you a good example and idea of how to place elements on your own track. So as you can see, I have start here. I have number 2. I'm going to take this minus out and this plus out. All right, so number 2, 3, 1, 4, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3. So these are the elements, the numbers that I have placed on my track. So let's say all of your pawns are here. Let's say, for an example, we're using dice instead of a spinner. So you roll a dice and you land on number 2. Question is, what does number 2 mean? Number 2 could mean I can go forward 2 spaces. Number 2 means I can go backward 2 spaces, or anything else that you want to make up about number 2. Remember, you can have the meaning of the element on the element itself, or you can have it on the playing card, or you can have it in the rules. So for an example, this 2 means to go forward 2 spaces. How do I know that? Because in my rules, that's what I have. All numbers except for 3 mean to go forward. That's what you'll read in my rules. So remember, if you don't have it on the explanation of what the element means on the element itself, then you should have it in your rules. So when I land on number 2, I move 2 spaces. Now you notice that there's more than one 3 on the track. So remember when I was talking about name your game, how to name your tabletop board game? Since I have more 3s on the track than anything else, I can name my board game 3. Or I can name my board game the Latin or Spanish word for 3. So that's just to give you an idea of how you can name your board game. Just the little things that I want to throw in there. So when I land on number 3, what does number 3 mean? Does that mean to go forward 3 spaces? Or does number 3 mean to go backward 3 spaces? Well, if you look in my rules, I have in my rules that anytime you land on a number 3 on a track, you have to go backwards. You have to backtrack 3 spaces. So when you land on 3 with your pawn, you backtrack 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So 3 means to go backwards. Now, remember I said that you can tell the player on the element itself? Well, I'm going to put a minus here. So that means that the player is reminded that minus means to go backwards. That's in my rules also. Whenever you land on a 3, you have to go backwards. 1, 2, 3. Now you can also put that on your other numbers. Plus. That plus means that you move forward 2 spaces. Now, if I land here on number 2 and I move 2 spaces, I land on number 3, which means I have to go back 3 spaces. So you have to determine, does that mean as soon as I land on 3, I have to backtrack 3 spaces? 1, 2, 3? Or does that mean that I have to wait till all the other players go, and then when it's my turn again, I have to backtrack 3 spaces? So that's what I mean about your decision on how you're going to run your own board game. You have to determine in the rules to tell the players what happens when they land on your elements that you put in your track. So in my rules, in my pretend rules for this pretend board game, I say that whenever you land on a -3, you automatically go back 3 spaces. You don't have to wait till all the players go and then you move back. So that's my decision. So you have to make up your mind. Start, I land on 2. That plus means to move forward 2 spaces. I land on 2, I immediately land on move forward 2 spaces. 1, 2. I landed on 3. I immediately have to go back 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. So that gives you an idea of how to use your elements on your track. So let's go to number 1. Number 1 obviously means to move forward, because I said in my, when I wrote it in my rules, I said that all the numbers except for 3, you move forward. So I automatically know when I land on 1, I'm moving forward. Now when I land on 4, I'm moving forward 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I land on a 3, that means I have to go back 1, 2, 3. So you can either put a minus on your 3s throughout the track, or you just can leave it a plain 3, or you can draw in this with a certain color and make your 3 a different color. So any way that you can make the 3 stand out on your track, you can do so. Now remember, number 2 is a reward because it's going forward. It's allowing me to go forward to get to home. -3 is backwards. It's an obstacle because it's hindering me from moving forward to reach home. So number 2 is a reward because it's moving forward toward home. And number 3 is an obstacle because it's hindering me from moving forward. It's making me go backwards. So this is an example of how you can use your elements on your track. So I have another example. Let's say you put an L here. So you determine what the L stands for. In my pretend board game, L means to lose a turn. So in my when you read the booklet to determine what these elements stand for, you'll see that L stands for lose a turn. Okay, so now lesson 8, apply the elements. So I start here, I land on 2, I move forward 2 spaces. 1, 2. That's what it says in the rules. 1, 1, 2. I land on L. The rule says that I lose a turn. When I land on 3, the rule says that I backtrack 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. -3. Now, let's use a T. In the rules, what does T stand for? It means take another turn. So if I take my pawn and land on T, T means take another turn. Now you can also put that in here. You can put take another turn on the element. Remember I said you can have it in the rules or you can have it on the element itself. So you can say take another turn, or you can also have it here, lose a turn on the element itself. Or you can have it in the rules or both. Lose a turn, take another turn. All right, now, let's use another letter for an example. Let's say J. What does J mean? J could mean jump. So in other words, if a player lands on J, they're going to jump over 3 and land on 5. So jump over 3, land on 5. 5 means to move forward 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, as in before, if I land on jump and I jump over this 3 and land on this 5, you determine if that person has to go 5 spaces forward right away, or they just stay here and they can move 5 spaces after the other players go. So those are the kind of decisions that you have to make when you are using your elements on the track. So you want to use it strategically and wisely on how you place your elements on a track to make your board game really fun, addictive, challenging, and fun. You want to engage your players. You want to make it so that they want to play your board game. Okay, now let's look at a symbol. Let's say if players land on this arrow. Let's say you have an arrow. Maybe you have an arrow 2 places on your track throughout your whole track. Why? Because this is a special arrow. Now, in your rules, you could say that whenever a player lands on this arrow, they move automatically forward 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the arrow, so you don't want to give players too many arrows. So let's say maybe the arrow's only twice on your board, or maybe 3 times on your board. Now, arrow is obviously a reward because it's pushing you forward toward home. It's not an obstacle, it's a reward. So you're placing your arrow here, and again, you can still write that too. You can write move 7 spaces on the element itself. So the player knows when they land on this arrow, they move automatically 7 spaces forward. All right, so these are just examples that I wanted to give to you of applying the elements on your track to create a board game that's addictive, challenging, and fun. You have to use wisdom and strategy to figure out how to place your elements on your track in a way that will make your board game exceptional and fun. You don't want it cluttered with too many elements that aren't placed on there in a strategic way, because it'll make your board game boring. It'll turn players off. They don't want to play your game because they really don't understand what's going on with the elements that you placed on the track. So use your rules to tell players what each element mean on your track, and then you can also use the element itself to tell players what to do when they land on an element on your track. So I hope everybody that apply the elements have given you some ideas on how you can use elements on your track to make your board game addictive, challenging, and fun. I hope that you will stay with me as I go through these lessons on showing you how to create a basic tabletop board game using my ICM method. And remember, ICM, idea, concept, mechanics. This is my method of showing you how to create a tabletop board game. In other words, if someone asks you, do you know how to create a tabletop board game? Yes, I do, because I use the ICM method from the lessons that I've learned on Create Your Own Tabletop Board Game YouTube channel. Thanks everyone for watching.